He was a bunch of dorks like us. All right, here we go once again. Basic AF show. It is Tom Anderson, Jeff Battersby, WWDC week. Jeff, it has been a week.
It has been a week, and I'm still coming to you, Tom, from Jeffrey Dahmer's basement.
Well, you're dressed like you're storing bodies there. It looks cold.
It is. It's cold. It's cold in the Northeast and smoky. It smells like everybody's having a barbecue. So
yeah, I saw they postponed the Yankees game tonight because of the smoke.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah,
I was supposed to go sailing
tomorrow. Like apparently, I don't know if it'll be better tomorrow or not, but we'll find
out.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to have up to 15-mile-an-hour winds this evening, so maybe that'll blow the smoke your way. I hope.
I think it did all day. It was pretty breezy here today and yesterday, and we don't have as much as you do up there
it's a ton.
here in Virginia. But we've got it's hazy. Like I was looking at the sun last night, and it's like this orange disc. But you don't have to squint at all. It's like it's just like it's there. But
yeah, right. You can be Donald Trump looking at the eclipse.
Yeah, you could do that.
I'm slipping politics in.
Well, that one's okay.
It was a good joke.
That was. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you stand in my backyard. I have two little stone walls. One's about 20 feet from my back door, and the other one's about probably 45 feet from my back door.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are standing on the back porch looking out, there's a haze at the 20-foot wall.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's great. My lungs,
feeling good. So cough as much as you need to. And that's okay.
I'm just going to take up smoking.
Well, I think you might as well. So,
yes.
Monday. So we're recording this a little bit early this week. Going to be heading out of town to the beach. And so we thought we'd go ahead and get that done, especially with it being the keynote week and WWDC conference and all that fun stuff. So we're recording on Wednesday. So just a couple of days after the keynote. So some, if news comes out between now and when this show publishes that contradicts anything we're talking about, well, wouldn't be the first.
Yeah.
Yep. So what if
we've been wrong before, Tom?
Oh, yeah. Give us a couple minutes. We'll do it again. So last show, we did our wish list for the conference to see to express what we would like to see. And then
Tom?
Did okay. I was surprised.
Yeah, you did great. Santa Claus loves you.
Yep. Old Santa Cook hooked me up.
Yeah, right. Santa Cook did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do a quick rundown. I'll just tell you everything Tom got right. Widgets redone. Bring back the dashboard. Well, maybe not the dashboard, but he definitely got some redone widgets. Going to be able to interact with those. A better strange manager.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Tom wants a better strange manager. All sorts of things that can be said about that.
Yeah. Stage
manager. Freeform window sizes. You got that too, Tom.
Yeah, it sounds like it from what people were saying. So it looks like they made some nice improvements to that.
Correct. Better data visualization. Actually, a better health app, particularly in the macOS side. Going to get some health there. That's good. We were both right about a 15-inch MacBook Air. Not that there was much chance of getting that particular thing wrong. And I will say that everything else that I wished for, Tom, I got bupkis. I got coal in my stocking.
Zippy.
In my Cook stocking. Yep. Look at me. Who knows? Maybe something like my display menu in the menu bar will show up, when I download a beta and see. But
right. Yeah, because a lot of the stuff is, isn't keynote worthy necessarily, but it ends up turning up during the beta.
In other words, you're saying that the stuff I complain about is just really pissy. Is what you're saying?
I didn't say that.
Pissant little. Yeah, well, I know.
It's the little things.
Tom. It is the little things. It definitely is. So, congratulations, Tom. If we were giving out money, for all the things you got,
if we made any money, we could give some out.
Well, it's coming.
It's early. It's early. Yeah. Something else they did with I'll save that till we get to the
say
stuff.
it. Go.
No, I was just going to say
Tom.
if you want, we can use this as the jumping off point. But so they did that 15-inch MacBook Air, which looks great. I think I told you when we were chatting back and forth. I said, man, I wish that was out before when I'd gotten my 16-inch MacBook Pro, I definitely would have picked that up instead.
But if
can't buy what's not
guys
there.
had stolen my computer later, I would have would have gotten it too.
Dicks.
But do a better job next time.
Yeah, but the other thing they did is they surprisingly dropped the price of the 13-inch model by $100, which was nice because that's got some implications for me at work, and so we're evaluating options there. But I think it's going to allow us to do a little processor upgrade or something and kind of maintain the same price point. So that'll be kind of nice.
That's great. And those MacBook Airs, that form factor is brilliant. It really is.
It really is.
My middle child, youngest daughter, picked one up for school when she started graduate school, and it's a great computer. It really is. So
yep. So they'll sell a ton of those. And the price was good. I expected it to kind of fall into that $14.99 mark, but these $12.99, that's good.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So
truly
fantastic there. Other hardware that they did, they upgraded, or I should say updated the Mac Studio.
Yep.
With an M2 Ultra, so you can get it in M2 Max, M2 Ultra. And they bumped the RAM up to that. I think it's up to 192. I don't remember what it was before. Maybe
I don't either.
I don't recall.
And I know you and I were chatting back and forth that might be, not upgradable at all in either of these.
Right.
But either because they also did the Mac Pro.
They did.
So, yeah, they did that as well. But they have a ceiling of 192 gigs, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which you had said, particularly with the Pro, that might make a few people a little not happy. I still think or feel like, with onboard RAM now, it feels a lot like it's twice as much.
It does. Yeah. And to be honest, I can't really speak with any experience on what the folks that use the Mac Pro and have jammed, like the Intel-based Mac Pro would go up to 1.5 terabytes of RAM, which is ridiculous. But I don't, and I know people use it, like they do large data sets and all sorts of things. But all I know are a few threads I read here and there. I've never done anything remarkably close to that, so I cannot speak to it with any informed discussion anyway. But it is significantly less than 192 gigs, obviously, versus the 1.5 terabytes. But you've got your expansion slots are in the Mac Pro now, which so it's basically they took the Mac Studio, put it in the Mac Pro chassis, and gave you some PCI expansion slots. But I thought it was nuts. There's up to 22 streams of 8K.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, holy crap! So yeah.
And how many? I can't remember off the top of my head. How many monitors did it drive? Was it 8?
Supports up to 6 Pro Display XDRs.
Okay,
so a couple,
just a few.
Yeah, that's a lot. Man, imagine paying for 6 of those things. Someone said like 30s. Yeah. How much are those again? Are they 10, 6, 10, something like that? Yeah.
I don't even look at those things.
No, because I can't afford it. I mean, well, I could afford it, but it would be a terribly stupid purchase. It's like, I can't justify that. So, I mean, I'd love to have one if somebody wants to donate one to the show for research purposes. But
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
24-core CPU, 76-core GPU, and that M2 Ultra, which is a lot. So if you need that high-end stuff, you've got options there. And I tell you, man, that Mac Studio, man, that is just packed full and is a heck of a machine.
Yeah. Do you have any of those at work?
I think we have maybe one so far. That one of the music production folks picked up. I did not get to see it, but I seem to recall one coming through like on a PO or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've touched one. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
But, the Mac Mini that I'm working on right this second as we speak is plenty.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't forget those, because we're about to refresh some classrooms. And so just today I was looking at that to spec it out, to send it over to our reseller. And I forgot that they dropped the price of those not long ago either. So they started like $499 education, which is sick.
Yep.
because they're excellent. So,
they're still one of my favorite Macs.
Yeah,
they're one of my favorite Macs. So.
And if I may say, for me, it's mostly because you don't have to deal with that crap that comes along with the MacBook when you plug it up to the external and unplug it and plug it back in, and your windows go crazy. So we'll never let that go. Nope. All right.
Nope.
Anything else on the Mac hardware side of things you want to?
No, that was it on hardware. Well, yeah,
right.
Other than the obvious.
Yeah, that's why it took me a second to be like, and it's not just hardware, but we'll get to that.
Yes, and lots of software updates, particularly in the OSs, and which we're going to dive into these each a little more deeply in upcoming episodes. But
yeah, when we hit those slow days in the summer when there's not much else going on, we'll dig into that.
But some nice new features. I'll add one to tvOS that I've thought about and wished was there before. They've added FaceTime video conferencing, which I'll say that's something that I wish I'd had a few times, and it uses your phone as a means of being the camera, because obviously most people's televisions don't have cameras, so you've got the ability to do that. It's a really nice feature. Like that upgrade quite a lot. That's kind of a high level feature. Some changes, as we mentioned a few moments ago, in macOS to the Stage Manager features, or Strange Manager. Said before. I kind of like that better.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can get Apple to pick that up. Strange Manager.
Get Craig on the phone. Or the FaceTime.
By the way, of all the segments in that keynote, he's a pretty fun dude. He had about an hour's worth of stuff, but he was pretty fun to.
He's always entertaining.
Yeah, definitely.
It just seems like he really just loves the stuff, so I think that helps.
It absolutely does. So that was good. Some nice little features to watchOS. iOS, iPadOS, a bunch of little things is what I would say. It doesn't seem like, at least initially, it's going to be too crazy in terms of features, which hopefully means you get a little better back end details working in a way that they should. But widgets on macOS, which is nice, the ability to arrange those on your desktop in a way that makes sense. I liked the two things I really liked is the profiles for Safari.
Yes.
So work profile where you're doing one thing, and a personal profile where you're doing something else, and those two worlds never meet, which I kind of like. I like the idea of being able to kind of have that breakdown. I love that they are bringing the screensavers that they've had in tvOS to macOS. That's sweet as heck. So I'm really looking forward to that. Games, we still have to do a Nintendo Switch show at some point in time, because I am absolutely loving that. But I mean, maybe someday games will be good on the Mac, but I don't think that's going to be a thing. And then some other features related to, the usual stuff, some privacy and safety. I didn't see any updates to the keychain or an application. But there was a feature that allows you to share passwords that you can, share groups of passwords with other people.
And that's nice. That's a nice addition.
I really like that. Yeah, that's a great feature.
Yeah. And we'll have to come up with a new way, it seems at least, to talk about Siri, because they've changed, or they're giving you the option anyway to change how you activate Siri. So whether it's the traditional AGY Siri, or now you can just do Siri, which that could be interesting for like podcasters and stuff who just want to talk about Siri, you're setting people's things off. So maybe they've got some intelligence built in there to help filter that out.
Yeah.
Because I know they have some already, so they'll probably just enhance that.
I will. There's a little side note, by the way, on the Siri and Hey Siri thing. Again, because I have one here that would be happy to say hello to me. Was watching the final episode of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel last night, and there's a character on that show whose name is Susie, and somebody said, "Hey, Susie," and of course,
there it went.
Yeah. Huh?
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's funny how that kind of pops off on occasion. So anyway.
Something that I saw today that I'm looking forward to, and is it a big thing? No, but in reminders, because I think we had talked about this in one episode that we did where I think it was in our grievances maybe, when we were talking about Siri actually, because I said the most frequent use case for me with Siri is with the watch when I'm cooking or in the kitchen or whatever, and I notice I need something, and I'll say, "Hey, add something to the groceries list." And now, when you do that, the Reminders app will have intelligence built in to sort the list into sections. So you'll get produce, dairy, and all that.
Yeah,
and so that's nice because we already use that. So it's like should be a zero friction thing. I mean, not that we actually go to the store these days. We usually just order and go pick it up. But that'll be nice. Supposedly, autocorrect is going to be getting better.
Okay.
And that's, and kind of a brief aside, that is one of those things where, leading into it and even during it, there was, commentary that Apple doesn't use, that I can recall, or if they do, it's very limited, the term AI specifically. No. They usually go machine learning, right? Cool. Neural networks, machine learning, that sort of thing. And they mentioned that in regard to the autocorrect, where it's using that transformer modeling. And so from what they said is that autocorrect on the device will learn the words you use specifically and learn not to change them. But it did make me laugh when Craig said ducking. Sometimes you just want to send a ducking message. That's great.
Well, and apparently there was a thing that came out today. I can't remember exactly where I saw it, but now when you type what ducking refers to, it's not going to ducking change it to ducking, which is great.
Because how many times do you type that ducking word, and usually it's you may not be in the most pleasant mood anyway. Yeah, and then you type that and it gets switched, and you just get amped up even more.
Right.
So thanks, Craig. We appreciate your help there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's a good one. iPadOS gets some changes on the lock screen. It gets the widgets now.
Yes, nice. So, interactive widgets.
So that'll be good. Oh, the one thing we haven't talked about yet, and are we done with iOS? We talked a little bit about it, but that sideshow thing looks good. Where you with the hold on, let me find the name of it here real quick.
Remind me, Tom.
That's the one where it's standby. Sorry, it's not sideshow. That's a different thing.
That's sideshow Bob.
That's where you've got your phone on the charger. And when it's rotated into the horizontal aspect, right, it can show a clock or it can show some other things. Looks pretty neat. It's got like some smart stacks, live activities, things like that. So that's something I'd like to play with. I don't really have a charger that I can kind of prop the phone up in that manner now. It's probably something I'll look at, but typically it's like, I've got the watch. And it's like the phone's just on the desk and stays on the desk. Even at night, it's on the nightstand, but with sleep mode, the screen's off and everything. But looks neat. I think it's kind of a thing. There's more to come to that story, because you and I said during the keynote when we were talking, man, that would look really nice on an iPad.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, you don't have an always-on display on an iPad at this point. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But there's that rumored HomePod / something with a screen that they've been working on, kind of like the Echo Show or whatever that is.
Yes.
Or is it the Google Show, the Echo Show? One of those. I think they both have them, but they're the smart home assistants with the display. And then you would have that.
Correct. And it seems like the phone is kind of headed in that direction anyway with that new feature.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, in iPadOS. So in this shows up, I think, in macOS as well, as there's new PDF features.
Yes.
That, seem to be much better than they have been previously. I don't know whether or not you've ever tried to fill in forms using your Mac now, using Preview. And it's, depending on the form you're working with or how you're working with it, doesn't always work great. I had been using PDF Pen Pro for a while, and that got sold off, which is disappointing to me. So this looks like a nice option for me to be able to to kind of handle that. And the nice piece about it is it's going to discover form fields. So even for something that you scan, so you take a picture with your phone of some document that has fields that you might need to be able to fill in, that's going to be picked up by the new version of Preview. So I like that a lot. Makes a lot of sense to me. Look forward to it. Plus some interactive editing in the PDF tool. So you can be working on something with somebody else at the same time. Which
and they added that to Notes too. So it's nice.
Yeah, great.
Notes just keeps getting better and better and better, which is nice.
I love Notes.
Fear, like we've talked about before sometimes, is Apple forgets they have these apps, calendar contacts. But Notes, they've kind of kept the gas down on, the pedal down on that one and keep it moving forward. Also saw they do, you can now, they're going to be adding linking in Notes, so you can link notes inside of other notes. I'm sure it's not to the extent like you can do with Craft and Obsidian and apps like that, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be. Those apps are there if you want the more robust, super nerdy version of that. But Notes is, I think, it's good enough. Yeah,
and we obviously both use Craft. That's how we do show prep. We kind of toss stuff into there. But Notes, for my money, if it adds those features, it's probably all I'll need. We might need something else together. But
yeah, and different topic for a different day. But my love affair with Craft, the bloom is off the rose, as they say. And so, I don't know. We'll see. But different show.
We'll see. That's exactly right.
Health app on the iPad, which is good. It's going to make some of that data, I think, at least easier to see on the bigger screen than sometimes on the phone. It just doesn't have room to breathe, and hopefully that'll help out with that. I did see, too, some of the wellness things they've added as part of that. So, it'll basically say, how'd you feel today? And then when you give it your input, then it gives you some things to look at to see, okay, well, why might you be feeling that way? And like it showed the screenshot I saw anyway. I haven't loaded any of this stuff personally yet, but the screenshot showed like my mood was kind of and then below that, they would show, well, here's how much exercise you've had over the last 7 days. And so things that all feed into, your general well-being, which is what we talked about back in that wish list show last time around, was to start tying some of this data together. Because it means things.
Yeah. Oh, it does. Absolutely. It does. And I like that. And we'll also note, and unclear to me whether or not this is actually something that Kirk McElhearn posted on LinkedIn. It might have been on one of his blogs, but Kirk was talking about the journaling app and whether or not that's a new feature that's going to be for sure in iOS. But whether or not that's going to cross over the other OSs, and his point was, if it's not, everywhere, if you can't, enter a journal note on your Mac or on your iPad, it's only on the phone. It's going to limit its usefulness. So hopefully that will show up across all devices. But that's another piece that's kind of tied to the health app. I really like what they're doing with those things. On my watch, I like the meditate or the focus feature that kind of pops up every morning and goes, hey, maybe you should start your day with a quiet moment. It's just a minute, but it's nice. So I like those features. I like what they're doing.
Yeah. And speaking of watchOS 10, man, it's wild. They're already up to version 10 of that. But some things there that I think you mentioned while we were watching that, the hiking stuff, they've improved that.
I'm gonna so look forward to that.
Yeah, so that looked really nice. I don't do that, but I know for people who do, it looked pretty good. So always like to see those things come in. They've taken a kind of a different approach to some of the ways that you kind of bounce back and forth between app or surface information between apps with the Smart Stack, which is very reminiscent of the Siri watch face in that you would have these little cards, if you will. They're not exactly square, they're more rectangular, but and apparently you kind of scroll through those and with the premise being that there will be some intelligence built in, given the name Smart Stack, that, you know, it'll surface information at relevant times during the day, like you got a meeting coming up or, you know, it's time to exercise, whatever it is. So looking forward to trying that out. They've changed some of the design language around some of the app, the watch faces, sorry. So like when you go in with the complication and then into the app. So if you go into like the fitness app and you see your ring information there, they kind of made that full screen. And that's, you know, so I can keep creeping up there a little bit. Bigger is better. I can actually see it. So that part's okay. I want to try that. And I can't think of anything else specifically, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll
like you said, we've got all
detailedly.
Summer to get into more details on all this stuff. So.
And these are obviously not the elephant in the room, these items.
No.
The elephant in the room is the next thing that we're going to get to, which neither of us have put our fat little fingers on.
No.
I'll speak for my own fingers. My own fingers are fat. Which is the brand new Vision Pro headset.
Yes.
And of course, we haven't touched it, but we've got opinions.
Of course we do. We had opinions before it even came out.
I did. In fact, I was re-listening to an episode a little bit ago where you asked questions about stuff that was going to come up. It was even before our WWDC wish list. And the first thing I said was, yeah, I don't know if I like that thing.
It's like, oh, I think that's the one where I was like, no, I'm talking about Siri.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, so let me just say, you know, obviously neither of us have touched it, but I was pleasantly surprised by the interface. And when I say that, and I've had, you know, there's several people that have used it that, you know, we've both looked at video of, say, for example, Marcus Brownlee, who friggin' brilliant, you know, hats off to you, pal. We love you here at Basic AF. But he was talking about how the way it followed his eyes, you know, and allowed him very easily just put two little fingers together gently, and it would actually open those apps. This is the first time I've seen any one of these headsets that I have not thought that the use case was utter stupidity. Sorry, I don't have any opinions about this, but all the other ones, the Oculus, you know, whatever that is now, you know, the old metaverse where you can look at an avatar of yourself, that stuff to me is like, I'm not interested.
Right.
The way that this works, the use case for the way the Vision Pro works, man, I like the idea. Here's my big problem. Is as soon as there's that one scene in the advertisement, in the video at the end, where it has the dad working in the kitchen and his kids are there and his wife is there, and he takes the goggles and puts them over his head and then starts interacting in that way. And as soon as he
could
did
not
that,
stand that.
That made me go, no. You know, I'm a guy who, when my kids were little, you know, and they're starting to get, you know, little iPods and stuff like that. We go to the grocery store. You left that in the car.
Right.
You know, you didn't, when you're in the grocery store doing what you're going to do, it's time to interact with people. For me, that feature at this point in time puts a distance between you and everybody else in the room that it makes me feel funny inside. And I mean that like I don't know, it
and not first girlfriend's kiss funny. It's a different kind of funny. It ain't that one.
Yeah. No, right.
No, it's not that one.
That one's kind of enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's a thing that,
yeah. And
for all the magic, that's something that for me just doesn't work.
Yeah. It didn't feel like they missed really with anything else, but that particular one was like, And everyone I've talked to that is kind of, and I say everyone, it's 5 or 6 people, but even like with
it's all your friends, though, Tom.
It's more acquaintances. I really only have a couple friends. But even that, I think it was, I don't know, a few podcasts I've been listening to, like that one particular thing seems to be the unanimous. Ugh, yeah, we don't like that. But the rest of it's intriguing.
Very.
I think, so, I mean, you and I were both saying prior to this that the headsets, and again, this was headsets to date, just weren't of interest.
No.
I would like to try this. And I know it. And I said that when we did it. I said, well, it'll come out and I'll probably be like, okay, yeah, I want to try it. And I do want to try it. And I think I just need to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. And there are, I can see there's some use cases that I can see where it makes sense. Watching a movie, doing something like that I get it. That's kind of a thing.
Right.
I do have to say, while I understand it and it actually makes sense where you have the cameras on the, on the inside projecting your eyeballs on the outside, it's interesting.
I want to see it in person because some of the pictures and stuff, I'm like, man, that creeps me out. But I think it's probably one of those you see it in person, you're like, it still kind of creeps me out, but it is what it is.
The other thing that I've heard about this, and this is one of the things that I wondered, this is obviously in normal Apple style, very high quality build, which means like your iPhone, it doesn't feel like a piece of garbage. It's glass and metal, and it has some heft to it. John Gruber, which we'll have a link to what he said in the show notes. But one of the things that he had to say is he only had it on for 30 minutes, and he never ever felt like he didn't have the headset on.
Right.
It's very front heavy. And
I think
a friend of mine's daughter,
MKBHD said that too, right? He said,
yeah,
it's got some heft.
It does, which I'm happy to hear that. It's not made out of plastic. It's not garbage. It's not designed to be thrown away. But the other thing that I wonder, and the reason I wonder this, a friend of mine's daughter is no longer, but was a helicopter pilot in the Navy, and she had to wear, when she was flying, they had to wear night vision goggles that required counterweights for her because they're so heavy. They had to put counterweights on the back of it that allowed her to be able to keep her head up without having to fight it all the time. But she started having neck problems as a result of all the weight that was being put on her. And this is still one of those things where I think that's going to be an issue, that the weight of it is going to be an issue. What I foresee and the magic I foresee in the future is something where it's akin to the old Google Glass, where you have a pair of glasses that you pop on. Still wouldn't want to wear glasses in the house in front of people, but where you have, that kind of a possibility. And that seems where I hope the future is going. It has, and I said this to you, this feels like the computer that was in Minority Report.
Right.
That was like a wall, but all worked with hand movements and stuff like that. That would be too much. I love that this is just a simple, doesn't matter where it is. The cameras pick up your fingers tapping and it follows your eyes to see what you're looking at, which is one of the things that was supposedly amazing. That's what Brownlee said.
Yeah.
But until, I think the weight is going to be a factor for long-term use. And I think it's cool. I do want to try it too. I'm not going to, when I have the opportunity to do that. I think also one of the things that stood out to me was the calibration of it.
Right.
So Gruber had 2 points on that. One was that, it scanned, it basically looked at his face and was able to very quickly, said within a matter of a couple minutes, map out everything that it needed to see his eye movements. But the other thing that he said he uses corrective lenses, doesn't use contact lenses, and he wears glasses now. He used to wear contacts, but now just wears glasses. And within a matter of seconds, they were able to scan his glasses, and then they put the lens inserts into into it. And that was a quick deal. So that sounds like something that might be going on, at the Apple Store as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a setup process.
Yeah,
for these, but again, we're ways away. So what the setup process is early next year when it releases versus now, who's to say? But I imagine the face scanning and everything will still stay there because that's part of the fit and everything.
Right. But, and you do that with Face ID now too. When you do a phone, Face ID.
Yeah. And I think they use your eye as the unlock mechanism for this thing. So they call that optic cool. ID. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I mean, they've packed so much tech into this thing. I mean, when they talk about the cameras on the outside of it, cameras on the inside, the displays inside that you actually look at, the sound, the way the battery connects, the head straps, all of those things. And apparently they're going to have a whole bunch of different sizes for straps and things like that, at least from the early things they're telling people, and that has been reported anyway. But just so much into it that, because one of the things that you mentioned with the hand gestures, right? Because there's no mouse, there's no keyboard. You can pair that if you wanted to when you're working with your Mac. They said you could pair a Bluetooth keyboard, mouse, or trackpad. But for the Vision OS, which is what this will run, so it's a whole new operating system, it's hand and eyes, voice. I think those are your three inputs. But they've got so many, they've got the cameras positioned around for the outside of it so that you can rest your hands on your lap and not have to be, flailing your arms all over the place to do the gestures, which would get fatiguing as well. So I think just being able to sit there and, comfortably, tap your fingers for the click, flip up for the swiping and that kind of thing. I mean, they've put a lot of thought into it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I think the biggest piece of it, going back to flailing your arms around, is the fact that it is tracking your eyes and really able to precisely see what it is that you're looking at on the display and highlight whatever it is in that particular case, which is, I think that's where the magical piece comes in. And that is kind of a magic, if you, having not experienced it and only listened to or, having listened to or read a variety of people, that seems to be where the magic is. And I think it was, again, Marcus Brownlee that said that he actually accidentally gently touched his two fingers together, like in some place he didn't expect, and bang, it did that. It handled or it selected whatever it is or opened whatever it is that he had done that. So very sensitive and really interesting in terms of the technology that must have gone into that. Cameras that point down below, cameras that are pointing out. The other thing I think they said that was pretty interesting was if somebody, you're in the middle of doing some kind of computer work, if somebody enters the room, they kind of walk through the whatever windows you have up and show up there, which is kind of impressive as well. It might be also a little disorienting. But
imagine you've got the headset on and you're watching a movie and like your kid strolls into the room and jumps in front of you, jump scares through the headset. You're like, geez, you're about to kill me here. But yeah, and there've been other, I think the Sony PSVR 2, I think is what it is. I was talking to someone at work about that. I've never used it, but it's had some eye tracking stuff too. But I know with Marquez saying that, it was magic. That's saying something because he tries all the stuff, right? I mean,
he does.
Yeah. So,
is that how he pronounces his name, by the way? Did I just screw up his name?
I've heard both.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, it doesn't matter. He's
not going to listen to us anyway. So
no, he's a little busy. He's a little busy, but seems like a super nice guy. So if he ever wants to come on, we'd love to have him on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
and we'll pronounce your name correctly, whatever it is.
Yeah, we'll talk to your PR person beforehand, make sure we get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got an M2 processor in this thing. So some of I don't know if you saw any of these or not, but some of the early Mac rumors, 9 to 5 Mac rumor stuff that they plucked from different places, was that it would be tethered to your phone And I think where that may have come from is it ends up, you've got that battery pack tethered to it.
Yes.
So that you can kind of draw the connection there. But it's not. And in fact, Apple doesn't call this really a headset. It's a spatial computer.
Yeah, which I kind of like, spatial computing. And that is, when you see the demos, that is exactly what it is. You're doing computing as opposed to fighting with virtual swords in the middle of your living room.
Yeah, I mean, that could be fun too.
Yeah, you could probably do that with this.
Yeah, probably.
But it's the, pardon the pun, the vision for this feels way different than any of the other devices that I've seen. Again, I've been so not interested in any of these that I haven't looked at.
Right. Yeah.
I've never put a single one on.
Like I almost bought a Quest, and I don't even.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because it was more of the kids don't listen, so it was more of a desperation thing. I was running out of ideas for them for Christmas, and I was like, oh, I could just get them a headset. And so I kind of floated back, hey, what do you guys think about that? I tried it at a friend's house, not so great. I was like, damn. So they're not that idea.
There you go.
So M2 processor. Mm-hmm. They have a new chip in there, the R1, which seems to be kind of the key piece of that latency and some of the things that some people experience with headsets where they become a little disoriented, a little nauseous. And the reports are for the folks who were there, got to try it for the half-hour demo. And let me know if Gruber said anything about that. But the guy from 9 to 5 Mac, Chance Miller, did it. And this one I thought was interesting because he stated in his write-up, and again, we'll link to all this stuff, that he's very prone to motion sickness, so planes, cars, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But he had none whatsoever with the headset in his 30-minute demo. So I think that's promising. And some other people said that the same thing. Ben Maharan reported that as well, that he didn't have any of that. And that's because it's so tight on that, with such low latency that really brings together that effect of that spatial computing or whatever you want to call it. Because he's like, obviously it's not as same as having no screen there, but it's pretty close, he said. And that's part of it, right? Because if the refresh rate on the screens you're looking at with the latency and everything aren't where they need to be, then it kind of breaks the illusion.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And according to Gruber, one of the things that he said was that it doesn't seem like you're looking at screens at all,
right? When
you're inside the headset. It looks like, I'll just read it verbatim. It looks like reality, albeit through something like a pair of safety glasses or a large face covering clear shield. So no borders, no indication that there is, anything other than the outside. When you move, it moves with you. And I think that's where that disorientation comes from. Right. Like you said, the refresh rate. So they're doing super, super high speed video processing, which makes you wonder, is going to come up to, end up in other devices as well, developed for this, but show up in other places.
And you mentioned that real quick. There are so many traces of other devices that led to this. Like it has a digital crown. It's like, oh, where have we seen that? And just so it's such an Apple thing, I guess. Because they control so much of it, and so much of it's custom chips and things like that. But just as an outsider and a nerd, it's just kind of cool to see. Oh yeah, look, you can retrace those things, and be like, oh yeah, everything had a reason.
Yeah, there's a path.
Yeah,
always a path. Definitely. So interesting to look at. And when you get yours, I'll drive down to visit.
Come on down. Yeah, the wife said I should get it for the podcast. She's like, how can you talk about it if you don't have it?
She's right.
She is.
Of course.
And she also says you only live once. You can't take it with you when you go. And that's a little dangerous. But
right. Did she up the life insurance policy too?
Well, maybe. Yeah. But I'm assuming it'll have the sweet 14-day return policy. So that'll be...
that's true. And let's also point out that this thing's not showing up for basically, I would say 3/4 is what we're looking at sometime
Yep.
Early in the second quarter of 2024. So
Right.
you can think about it, dream about it, maybe play with it all you want.
Yeah.
You're not going to get your hands on one of these. I don't even
It's
know
gonna
when
be a
developers
while.
are getting their hands.
Right. I wonder if they'll get like some weird kit of hardware that, has the emulator on it and just do it that way. Like when they did the Apple Silicon transition, I think they got, I don't remember what they got with that. Maybe I'm thinking back to the PowerPC to Intel or something. They've done so many of these transitions where they give you these kind of thrown together pieces of hardware to get you through. Good enough for now. So it gets 2 hours battery life, has that little battery that you take with you, which ain't much, but,
can be plugged in, if you're right. So if you're sitting watching a movie, you've got the.
And you can have a stack of batteries, just, hook up the next one and, take a break.
I guess.
Yeah. So you get the 2 hours. The thing they said starts at $3,499. If you need the optical inserts, that'll be some more money, which I imagine is probably a few $100, couple $100, $300-400. I don't know, but it seems like it's going to be something that's.
Knowing Apple, it's going to be
this whole
Zeiss
experience.
lenses or
That's what it
something like
says. Yeah, use Zeiss optical inserts. So this ain't going to be cheap. With it being a computer, right? So it's not tied to your phone. It's not tied to anything else. You can kind of see it. Okay, so it starts at $34.99. How much storage do you get? How much does it matter? And then you scale up from there, right? So if you've got, are they going to do it like an iPad where it's 64, 128, 256, 512? So I'm curious to see how that looks when they get to that point. Like, what configuration options do you have? Like how much storage would you need? Like,
yeah,
because you got to have some, because you got operating system, you got apps, you'll have games, right? Because they said the Apple Arcade stuff will come over.
Right.
So I don't know, 64 minimum, maybe.
Here's where I'm wondering whether or not, and I wondered this at the time that we were watching the keynote, whether or not this is going to be way more tightly integrated with Apple's iCloud storage. So
right, yeah.
Open up a Pages document and it's on demand, bang, right there.
Right.
And as soon as you close it, that stuff gets shooshed back up to.
Yeah. It has its own Wi-Fi. Like, you connect it to your Wi-Fi, and you go from there. So, but I can see, hey, I want to store my stuff, some of it locally. Yeah. So, but at least $3,500 to get in the door. But with everything they have packed in it, like, I don't think that's like, it's expensive, right? I'm not saying that, but I don't think it's outrageous for what it is, being a first gen with everything they've packed into it. It sounds like from some of the analysts that it's going to be hard to make in large quantities anyway for a while because there's so much new stuff in it. I think they'll sell every one they make easily. I still, and this goes back to what we've been talking about before we started doing this show, the podcast as a whole, on a regular basis, what would I use it for?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. They didn't really have that answer in what they showed. They showed a lot of interesting things and a lot of cool things. I didn't see like the killer feature that was like, holy crap, that's a must have at this point. There are a lot of really good ones.
Correct. And that's a big question. I mean, I immediately saw the use case for an iPhone. And that was at a point in time when I was about ready to say, you know what, I don't even need a cell phone.
Right. Now, if you go back,
so
let's see, it's 2023, 40 years. You don't even really have to go back that far. Yeah, I was 10, 10 or 11. But you could kind of say the same thing for PCs back then.
Oh, right.
They were very
when the
expensive.
Commodore 64 was around, people were
and they were hobbyists.
Nobody needs it.
Right? It was a hobbyist thing. Like you got your parts, you built it, and they used to have little clubs you would go to, and they would, you assemble your PC. It was a bunch of dorks like us. Right? So, but.
You're making fun of me.
Yes.
Okay, good.
But myself at the same time. And so I think this is one of those things where I think Apple is kind of like, yeah, I don't know. And like, I don't know. Did you see the clip from, I think it was Good Morning America with Robin Roberts? She interviewed Tim Cook. And she asked him, this is a lot of money. Do you think people will buy it? I'm paraphrasing a bit. And he was straightforward with it. He's like, I don't know. It's going to be up to everyone's, individual financial situation and things like that. We think it's, obviously worth doing. And so I think even them are still, let's throw it out there and see, because the watch was kind of the same way. Like they showed all those silly apps in the Series Zero, and they even had the edition that was like $10,000 or $17,000, whatever crazy amount that was.
Right. And I think, so let's look at me. Now, I'm not going to buy one of these things out of the box. I can see no reason to do it. I did buy an Apple Watch out of the box, that first one, and gave it up after 6 months. We've talked about that. That's been a subject here. And it was, I had, one of the reasons I gave it up, there was no identifiable value beyond having a watch on my wrist. And on the occasions that I was walking someplace and needed on-wrist directions, which I liked, it was good for that. But other than that, it was an annoyance. That's what it was for me. I have now been wearing the new Apple Watch, and I've been wearing it for 6 months, longer than that now, 7, almost 8 months. I've been wearing that, and it has added value. And I think that's exactly what it is. Apple hadn't quite figured out what the watch was at that point in time. And they have, to a great extent, figured out what it is now.
Yeah, they're locked in at this point.
Added value in that way, right? Yep. And I think that's going to be the Vision Pro as well.
Yeah,
I think they'll iterate as they always do, and they'll figure out a way to make it into something insanely great.
It's possible, and it's
I think so. Like I said, I see that where I didn't before see any possible reason why this would be good. As soon as I saw the UI and what you could actually do with that UI and the way that it was there, it wasn't just some, tech kink, it wasn't something where you're going to throw it on and be able to watch movies.
Stuff. Yeah.
So I can see the use case.
Right.
And I'm impressed by that. Not for me at this point in time, but I can see the use case, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. And I think MKBHD talked on it too. I was talking with a guy at work about it prior to seeing his video. And I think for me personally, something that I would be very interested in, $3,500 interested in, probably not. But by the time we get to, I don't know how they're going to market these Series 4 or whatever, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, when it's, because they started with the Vision Pro.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves Vision something, right?
Pro Max. It's going to be 3 times the size.
Jesus. God. And it comes with a neck brace and a strap.
Full body.
Right. Decompression strap. But one of the things that would be interesting, and there's other pieces that would obviously have to fall into place with this, but to be able to virtually buy tickets to some event, whether that's a concert,
YouTube concert,
baseball game, football game, basketball, Formula One, whatever it is, and at a fraction of the price you would pay to actually go there, because it's not going to be the same, but then get to pick where you want to sit. I think today I'll sit.
And don't have anybody spilling their beer on you.
Right. You don't have the drunk asses to deal with.
No, you could still have that at home.
Well, it's more fun at home, but drunk strangers aren't quite as good. but that is compelling.
Yeah, it is.
Right. And like he said, I think MKBHD said, put me courtside at the Lakers game for $20. And that's all extra income. Apple would take their 30% and the rest kick over to the league. That would be great. Heck, that might be good enough to mostly kill sports, like going there in person, because the experience isn't good. Like I stopped going because it's overpriced. Parking's overpriced. People are obnoxious. I'm getting old too, so that's probably part of a cranky old guy yelling at the clouds. But there is that. Yeah, and I won't deny it. But that's a compelling use case, I think, as they continue. Like I think that what they showed with like the Mac desktop, being able to all of a sudden you've got a 100-inch display you can work on, is interesting. And just some of the things we've already talked about need to be figured out down the road to make those a little more easily endurable. I think like the neck strain, eye strain, because I think you put something on your face and it makes that seal, you're going to start to get a little sweaty.
No, no doubt about it.
Right. And it's like, well, how long can you tolerate that? Depends. I mean, if it's, and you start watching movies and they become super realistic and you start to sweat even more because you're getting amped up because of the movie or the game, is really intense or whatever. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Yes, definitely that.
And I'll see if I can clear off some space on the Apple Card and maybe try one for a week and send it back.
There you go. That sounds perfect.
Yeah, I'll let you know so you can plan your trip.
No, I'm driving down as soon as I'm hopping in my car. The moment that you get the notification that it's showing up at your door, I'm driving down, and you can buy me dinner.
Great. Well, I won't have any money left, so it'll be
that's okay.
$1 menu. Yeah, McChicken or something.
That's fine.
Great.
So, as the Car Talk guys used to say, and actually to a guy named Tom, we've done a perfectly good job of wasting another hour of your time.
We did, and we appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, we do. We realize that most of you probably only listen for 35 minutes.
That's okay. I feel like this is kind of our own little therapy sessions to an extent.
You and me, Tom.
Yeah.
We're besties.
Well, we are.
Say once every 2 weeks.
Right.
It's nice to see your face.
Yeah.
I'm going to go pull another head out of the freezer.
Jesus. God, that got dark. All right.
All right. As a reminder, if you want to contact us, and we'd really love it if you do, you can hit us up at feedback@basicafshow.com or on the web. You can see all of everything we have at basicafshow.com. Tom, people can reach you at...
Tom F. Anderson on Twitter, tomfanderson.com on the web. That's about it.
And you'll find me at Reyes Point on Twitter and at reyespoint.sdf.mastodon. Whatever the heck it is on Mastodon. Just a reminder, you would do us a great bit of favor if you made sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and like our podcast there as well.
Leave a rating because we've stayed consistent. We mentioned this last show. We get 1 rating per show.
That's
so
good.
We're up to 10.
We need another one.
And I think this is show 11.
This is show 11. And by the way, my favorite number, my soccer jersey, basketball jersey all the way through high school, currently even is number 11. So,
right. So somebody hook us up.
We've done something good. Theme music by Psychokinetics, and a reminder that the front man or one of the front people for Psychokinetics, Celsius 7, has a new album out. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. All our podcast artwork is by Randall Martin Design. I'm a hot mess. Thank God nobody listens to the end of this.
Yeah.
So Randall does great work.
Does.
We hope you go check out what he does, and we probably should do him a favor and Mr. Celsius 7 a favor and push those notes to the front of the show. All right, Tommy.
All right, is that it, my friend?
We burned another hour.
We did. Thanks again, everyone, for being here and being part of this with us. If you have any questions on any of this new stuff that's come out, or if you've thrown the betas on and got any feedback on that, let us know. Otherwise, have a good rest of your day, good rest of your night, and we will talk to you next time.
See ya.